Have you ever wondered how long most men last in bed? And today we're going to talk about the average time to ejaculation based on scientific research. If you're new here, I make urologic content every Monday and Friday. So if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and share this channel with your friends. A special thank you to Promescent for sponsoring this video. Let's start with the basics. During any sort of sexual stimulation, a man reaches a certain level of sexual excitement and he sends signals through nerves in the penis, one of which is called the dorsal nerve of the penis, to the spinal cord in an area called the spinal ejaculatory center. This then triggers an ejaculation as a reflex, meaning once the signal for ejaculation has started, you can't voluntarily stop it yourself. Your body signals areas of the body that store and carry semen to contract, including the seminal vesicles, the bladder neck, and the vas deferens, forcing semen into the urethra. The second part of ejaculation is when there's muscular contractions of muscles around the urethra and pelvic floor that essentially eject the semen out of the body. The amount of semen ejaculated varies from man to man, but it's typically about 1.5 to 5 milliliters. Now let's talk about the average time it takes for a man to ejaculate. The time it takes can vary a lot depending on the individual and the circumstances around the ejaculation. So I'll be talking about ejaculation in the setting of penile vaginal penetrative intercourse. Researchers did 2 studies evaluating nearly 500 heterosexual couples around the world. And they were asked to use a stopwatch or a blinded timer and time exactly how long they lasted during penetrative intercourse over multiple times they had intercourse during 4 weeks. Now, this doesn't take into account the time for foreplay or other types of sex that don't involve penetration. So when they took all the data and put it together, they found that the average man lasts about 5.4 to 5.7 minutes, but there was a huge amount of variability. So you may be wondering, okay, if that's average, how long do women want it to last? So there's a couple ways to look at this. One study looked at Canadian sex therapists and they asked them how long should it be, and it's called the intravaginal ejaculatory latency. And they described it in a few different categories. That it was adequate if it lasted 3 to 7 minutes and desirable if it lasted anywhere from 7 to 13 minutes. However, greater than that became a little less desirable. However, when you look at studies that ask women how long they want sex to last, and that typically includes foreplay, it ranges from 33 to 37 minutes, but they want the penetrative part to last about 14 to 18 minutes. This discrepancy between what normally happens and what people want can create a lot of issues. In fact, many men struggle with feeling like they're not lasting long enough, or they might be a rapid ejaculator, or they don't have enough self-control around ejaculation. And we estimate that it's common in up to 20 to 40% of men. And it can be a real problem. In fact, scientific research proves that ejaculating before you or your partner wants to can have a major impact on your psychological well-being and your quality of life. Studies have shown that men with premature ejaculation have less self-confidence, less satisfaction with sex, and difficulties in relationships, as well as feelings of embarrassment, guilt, worry, tension, or even a fear of failure. Also, we know that these negative issues are not only affecting the person themselves, but they're also affecting their partner. And the worst part of all this is because of issues like embarrassment, lack of knowledge about treatment options, or feeling like this is not something you want to bother your doctor with, often prevents people from actually seeing their doctor. So there's many different ways of treating early ejaculation, which can be really easy for you to access. For example, a lidocaine-based delay spray is an over-the-counter medication that you can pick up online. You just apply a few sprays to the penis a few minutes before intimacy, and it helps delay your ejaculatory response. But it's important to know that not all delay sprays are the same. Some generally are a little bit more effective in performance and may also help reduce the chance that you'll transfer any of that delay spray to your partner. That's why I like the Promescent delay spray. It's a great, safe, accessible option for men who want to increase their time to ejaculation, and one that I often recommend to my patients. In fact, it's the only delay spray product in the United States with clinical data proving its efficacy. Plus, it's available over the counter so you can buy it without a prescription. They use a proprietary formula that has anti-transfer technology and a metered dose spray that quickly absorbs in about 5 minutes. That means you can use it without worrying you're going to transfer anything to your partner. And once you figure out the number of sprays that you need, you'll be able to do that same thing over and over again. In fact, they studied 91 men and they found that using this spray increased ejaculatory time on average from 6.5 to 11.2 minutes. That's almost 5 minutes longer. They also saw that with this delay spray, the partner climaxed 50% more. So it's a win-win for both. Check out Promescent Delay Spray at www.promescent.com/Rena Malik and you'll get 15% off automatically at checkout for a limited time. But remember, you have to visit the website using the link in the description to get the 15% off, and it will be automatically applied at checkout. Now, despite what the studies say, I would argue that there is no right amount of time for sexual activity. It's more about finding a pace that's comfortable and enjoyable for both partners. And even within the same individual, that may vary. Sometimes people want to have a quickie and other times people want to have a leisurely experience. What people think they want is often skewed by what we see or hear on the media from society. And they often make it sound like having sex all night is the greatest thing in the world. Yeah, sometimes it probably is, but all the time, probably not. Bottom line, what matters is how you and your partner feel about sex. That includes foreplay and all other types of sex, penetrative or not. Often, either the person penetrating or their partner has an unrealistic expectation of how long sex should last. And it's important to discuss that with each other to find out what exactly they're looking for. Is it because they're not reaching climax, or do they just want the whole thing to be longer and more intimate? In that case, you can try to spend more time with foreplay. Consider other ways to increase pleasure for you or your partner. If you want to learn ways to increase pleasure in your relationship, make sure to check out my video on 10 ways to increase sexual pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed this so much. As always, remember to take care of yourself because you're worth it.